Have you ever wondered why one of the most researched supplements in the world is still treated like it's only for bodybuilders? What if I told you that the same molecule that helps someone lift a heavier weight in the gym may also help your brain produce energy during mental fatigue, preserve muscle as you age, and potentially support healthier aging? Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every single cell depends on a molecule called ATP. Think of ATP as your body's energy currency. Every muscle contraction, every heartbeat, every nerve signal, every thought, and every repair process spends ATP. The problem is that your body stores only a few seconds worth of it. Once those stores are depleted, your cells need a rapid way to regenerate ATP before performance begins to decline. That's where creatine comes in. Most people think creatine builds muscle. It doesn't. Creatine helps your body recycle ATP faster, allowing muscles and other energy-hungry tissues, including your brain, to continue performing when demand suddenly increases. In other words, creatine isn't building energy from nothing. It's helping your body recharge its biological batteries more efficiently. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your muscles and brain are like a smartphone. ATP is the battery charge. Throughout the day, you're constantly draining that battery. Creatine functions like an ultra-fast portable charger, helping restore energy before your battery reaches empty. The charger doesn't create a bigger phone. It simply keeps the phone running at peak performance when demand is highest. What the research shows is that creatine monohydrate remains one of the safest and most extensively studied nutritional supplements available. Beyond improving strength and high-intensity exercise performance, emerging evidence suggests it may also benefit memory, information processing, and mental performance under stressful conditions such as sleep deprivation, while ongoing research continues to explore its role in healthy aging. Importantly, these brain-related effects appear stronger in specific populations than in healthy, well-rested adults, so it's important to separate established benefits from promising but still developing science. And this is where many people get it wrong. They obsess over expensive supplements while overlooking one of the most evidence-supported tools that costs only pennies per day. Others avoid creatine because they believe it damages the kidneys, causes dehydration, or is only useful for young athletes. These myths have persisted for years despite a large body of scientific evidence showing otherwise for healthy individuals using recommended doses. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly who should take creatine, who should be cautious, the ideal daily dose, whether loading is actually necessary, the best timing for maximum results, how to combine it with exercise and nutrition, and why creatine may become even more important as we get older, not just for strength, but for maintaining independence, metabolic health, and long-term quality of life. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. Every week, we break down the science of nutrition, metabolism, and healthy aging into practical strategies you can actually use, without hype, confusion, or miracle claims. Most people believe creatine works because it builds bigger muscles. That's actually not the root cause. Bigger muscles are often a result of better energy availability, not the direct effect of creatine itself. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every time you lift a weight, sprint up a flight of stairs, stand up from a chair, or even maintain good posture, your muscles require ATP almost instantly. The challenge is that your muscles store only enough ATP to fuel a few seconds of maximum effort. If your body couldn't rapidly regenerate ATP, your strength would fall off almost immediately. This is where the phosphocreatine system becomes incredibly important. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your muscles are a construction site. A TP is the worker using a fully charged power drill. Every time the drill is used, the battery empties. Phosphocreatine acts like a stack of fully charged replacement batteries sitting right beside the worker. Instead of waiting several minutes to recharge, the worker simply swaps batteries and keeps working. That's exactly what creatine does inside your cells. Once stored as phosphocreatine, it donates a phosphate group to rapidly regenerate ATP during short bursts of high energy demand. This process happens within seconds, allowing you to produce more force, perform more repetitions, sprint harder, and recover faster between intense efforts. What the research consistently shows is that increasing muscle creatine stores through supplementation can improve strength, power output, training volume, and lean muscle gains when combined with resistance exercise. One reason is simple. If you can perform 1 or 2 additional high-quality repetitions each workout, those small improvements accumulate over weeks and months into meaningful increases in muscle and strength. But the story doesn't stop at the gym. Skeletal muscle is one of the largest metabolic organs in the human body. Healthy muscle improves glucose disposal, supports insulin sensitivity, increases resting energy expenditure, and helps maintain independence as we age. In other words, building and preserving muscle isn't just about appearance, it's one of the strongest predictors of long-term metabolic health. This is why creatine becomes increasingly valuable after the age of 40. We naturally lose muscle mass and strength with age, a process known as sarcopenia. Resistance training remains the foundation, but creatine can amplify the benefits of training by supporting greater work capacity and recovery. Studies in older adults consistently show that combining creatine with resistance exercise leads to greater improvements in muscle mass, strength, and functional performance than exercise alone. Here's a practical protocol you can start using today. Take 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate every day, regardless of whether it's a training day or a rest day. Consistency matters far more than taking it at the perfect time. Pair it with a well-designed resistance training program that emphasizes progressive overload, consume enough high-quality protein throughout the day, stay well hydrated, and prioritize 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. Together, these habits create an environment where your muscles can adapt, recover, and grow more efficiently. And remember, creatine isn't replacing hard work. It helps your body get more from the work you're already doing. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. Every week, we explore the science behind metabolism, nutrition, and healthy aging so you can make evidence-based decisions that support your health for years to come. Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why you were there? Or noticed that after a poor night's sleep, even simple decisions feel mentally exhausting? Most people assume that's purely a problem of concentration, but in many cases, it begins with something much more fundamental: your brain's ability to produce energy. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Although your brain makes up only about 2% of your body weight, it consumes roughly 20% of your resting energy. Every memory you form, every conversation you have, every decision you make depends on a constant supply of ATP. Just like your muscles, your brain has enormous energy demands, but unlike your muscles, it can't simply stop working when energy runs low. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your brain is a busy city powered by electricity. Every neuron is like a home, office, or hospital that requires constant power. If the electrical grid starts struggling, the lights don't necessarily go out all at once. Instead, traffic slows, communication becomes less efficient, and essential systems begin operating below their full capacity. That's similar to what can happen when the brain is under conditions of high energy demand. Creatine serves as part of the brain's emergency energy reserve. It helps regenerate ATP quickly during periods when energy demand suddenly increases. While the brain naturally produces and stores creatine, supplementation can increase these stores to some extent, particularly in individuals with lower baseline creatine levels, such as vegetarians and vegans. What the research shows is especially interesting. Studies have found that creatine supplementation can improve aspects of cognitive performance during situations where the brain is under stress, such as sleep deprivation, prolonged mental effort, or demanding cognitive tasks. Research also suggests that vegetarians, who generally consume less dietary creatine because they avoid meat and fish, may experience greater improvements in memory and reasoning after supplementation. Scientists are also investigating creatine's potential role in supporting healthy brain aging and neurological health, although many of these applications are still being actively studied and should not be considered established treatments. This is an important distinction. Creatine is not a miracle brain booster. If you're already well-rested, healthy, and consuming adequate creatine through your diet, the cognitive benefits may be modest. But when energy availability becomes a limiting factor, whether from aging, intense mental work, inadequate sleep, or lower dietary intake, creatine appears to offer more noticeable support. This brings us to another important point. Brain health doesn't exist in isolation. The same lifestyle habits that improve metabolic health also improve brain function. Regular resistance training increases blood flow and stimulates the release of growth factors that support learning and memory. Aerobic exercise enhances mitochondrial function. Deep sleep allows the brain to clear metabolic waste through the glymphatic system. A diet rich in omega-3 fatty acids, colorful vegetables, high-quality protein, and minerals provides the nutrients neurons need to function efficiently. Creatine should be viewed as one piece of this larger puzzle, not the entire solution. If your goal is cognitive support, a practical protocol is straightforward. Continue taking 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate daily, even on days you don't exercise. Combine it with consistent sleep, regular physical activity, adequate protein intake, and good hydration. These habits work together to support your brain's energy systems far more effectively than relying on any single supplement. Ultimately, protecting your brain isn't just about preventing decline decades from now. It's about giving your brain the energy it needs to think clearly, stay focused, learn efficiently, and remain resilient throughout every stage of life. One of the biggest questions people ask is, what's the perfect way to take creatine? Should you load it, take it before your workout, after your workout, with carbohydrates, on an empty stomach, or only on training days? The truth is, most people spend far too much time worrying about the small details while overlooking the one factor that matters most: consistency. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Unlike caffeine, which works within minutes, creatine isn't an instant performance enhancer. It works by gradually increasing the amount of creatine stored inside your muscles and, to a lesser extent, your brain. Think of it as filling a reservoir rather than flipping a switch. Every day you take creatine, you're adding a little more to that reservoir until it reaches an optimal level. Once it's full, your goal is simply to keep it topped up. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine you're filling a swimming pool with a garden hose. Whether you pour the water in during the morning or the evening doesn't make much difference. What matters is that you keep adding water consistently until the pool is full. If you stop for several weeks, the water level gradually drops. Creatine works in much the same way. This is why the loading phase is optional, not mandatory. Research shows that taking 20 grams per day, divided into 4 5-gram doses for about 5 to 7 days, can saturate muscle creatine stores more quickly. After that, a maintenance dose of 3 to 5 grams daily is sufficient for most adults. However, if you're not in a hurry, simply taking 3 to 5 grams every day will achieve similar muscle saturation within approximately 3 to 4 weeks. The destination is the same. Loading simply gets you there faster. Now let's talk about timing. Some studies suggest there may be a slight advantage to taking creatine close to your workout, particularly after resistance training when muscles are more receptive to nutrients. However, the overall evidence indicates that daily adherence is far more important than the exact timing. If taking creatine with breakfast helps you remember it every day, that's likely a better strategy than trying to chase the perfect post-workout window and frequently forgetting. Another common question is whether creatine should be taken with carbohydrates. Insulin can enhance creatine uptake into muscle cells, and combining creatine with a meal that contains carbohydrates and protein may slightly improve absorption. But the practical difference is relatively small for most people. Rather than consuming large amounts of sugar just to increase insulin, a balanced meal containing lean protein, healthy carbohydrates, and whole foods is a much more sustainable approach. Hydration is another area surrounded by myths. Some people believe creatine causes dehydration or muscle cramps. In reality, high-quality research has not supported these concerns in healthy individuals. Creatine draws water into muscle cells, which is actually one of the reasons it supports training performance and muscle function. That said, because water shifts into muscle tissue, maintaining good hydration remains important, especially if you're exercising intensely or training in hot environments. Here's a simple daily protocol that works for the vast majority of people. Take 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate every day. Use creatine monohydrate as it has by far the strongest scientific evidence and excellent long-term safety data. Take it at any time you'll consistently remember, ideally with a balanced meal. Stay well hydrated throughout the day. Pair creatine with progressive resistance training, adequate protein intake, roughly 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight per day for most active adults, and higher for some individuals, and 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. Notice the pattern. Creatine isn't replacing healthy habits, it's amplifying them. Think of it as an accelerator, not the engine itself. The engine is still your nutrition, your exercise, your recovery, and your daily consistency. If this is helping you better understand the science behind optimizing your health naturally, consider subscribing. Every week, we break down the latest evidence into practical strategies you can apply immediately to improve your strength, metabolism, brain health, and longevity, without unnecessary hype or misinformation. If there's one reason many people never try creatine, it's not because they doubt its benefits, it's because they're worried about its safety. You've probably heard someone say, creatine damages your kidneys, or it makes you retain unhealthy water, or even, it's basically a steroid. These claims have been repeated for years, but they don't accurately reflect what decades of scientific research have found. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Creatine is not an artificial hormone. It is not an anabolic steroid. In fact, your body naturally produces about 1 to 2 grams of creatine each day in the liver, kidneys, and pancreas from the amino acids glycine, arginine, and methionine. You also obtain creatine naturally from foods like beef, fish, pork, and other animal products. Supplementation simply increases the amount available to your muscles and other tissues beyond what diet alone typically provides. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your home has a rechargeable backup battery. Every day, that battery receives a small charge from your home's electrical system. If you install a larger backup battery, you're not changing how your house works. You're simply increasing the amount of stored energy available during times of high demand. That's essentially what creatine supplementation does. One reason kidney concerns arose is because creatine supplementation can slightly increase blood levels of creatinine, a natural breakdown product of creatine. Creatinine is commonly measured as part of routine kidney function tests. However, a higher creatinine level after starting creatine does not automatically mean kidney damage. In healthy individuals, it often reflects increased creatine metabolism rather than impaired kidney function. What the research shows is reassuring. Numerous randomized controlled trials and long-term reviews have found no convincing evidence that recommended doses of creatine monohydrate impair kidney function in healthy adults. Studies lasting months and even several years have consistently demonstrated a strong safety profile when used appropriately. However, this doesn't mean creatine is appropriate for everyone. If you have chronic kidney disease, significantly reduced kidney function, or another serious medical condition affecting the kidneys, you should speak with your healthcare provider or nephrologist before taking creatine. The same applies if you're pregnant, breastfeeding, taking medications that may affect kidney function, or managing complex medical conditions where individualized guidance is important. Another common concern is water retention. Yes, creatine increases water stored inside muscle cells. This intracellular water supports cellular hydration and may contribute to improved muscle performance and recovery. It's very different from the type of fluid retention that causes swollen ankles or generalized bloating due to medical conditions. Some people may notice a small increase in body weight during the first week or two of supplementation, often around 1 to 3 pounds. In many cases, this reflects increased water stored within muscle tissue rather than an increase in body fat. There's another group of people who may benefit even more than they realize. Older adults naturally lose muscle mass, strength, and power as they age. This process, known as sarcopenia, can reduce mobility, increase the risk of falls, and make everyday tasks progressively more difficult. Research consistently shows that combining resistance training with creatine supplementation produces greater improvements in muscle strength, lean mass, and physical function than exercise alone. Vegetarians and vegans may also experience greater benefits because their dietary creatine intake is naturally much lower than that of people who regularly consume meat or fish. As a result, their muscle creatine stores are often lower at baseline, leaving more room for improvement through supplementation. So, who is an ideal candidate for creatine? Someone who wants to improve strength, preserve muscle while aging, recover better from training, or support overall physical performance, and who has healthy kidney function. The key message is simple. Don't let outdated myths prevent you from benefiting from one of the most thoroughly studied supplements in nutrition. Instead, let high-quality evidence guide your decisions. When used responsibly and combined with healthy lifestyle habits, creatine has earned its reputation as one of the safest and most effective tools available for supporting strength, performance, and healthy aging. By now, you might be thinking, if creatine is this effective, why doesn't everyone experience dramatic results? The answer is simple. Creatine doesn't work in isolation. It supports your body's energy systems, but those systems still depend on the quality of your lifestyle. If the foundation is weak, even the best supplement can only do so much. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your muscles don't grow because you take creatine. They grow because your body adapts to stress. When you perform resistance training, you create tiny amounts of muscle damage and mechanical tension. During recovery, your body repairs those fibers, making them stronger and often larger than before. Creatine helps by giving your cells more readily available energy, allowing you to train harder, recover more effectively, and repeat that process consistently. Think of it like building a house. Creatine is the power generator that keeps the construction site running, but without workers, bricks, cement, and a blueprint, the generator can't build the house by itself. Resistance training provides the stimulus, protein supplies the building materials, sleep is when the construction happens, and creatine ensures the equipment has enough power to keep working efficiently. This is why a complete protocol produces far greater results than supplementation alone. Let's start with resistance training. Research consistently shows that creatine provides the greatest benefits when combined with progressive strength training. Aim for 3 to 4 sessions per week, focusing on compound movements such as squats, deadlifts, rows, presses, and lunges. These exercises recruit large muscle groups, increase strength efficiently, and stimulate the greatest metabolic adaptations. Next is protein intake. Muscle protein synthesis, the process of building new muscle tissue, requires an adequate supply of essential amino acids, particularly leucine. Most active adults should aim for approximately 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight each day, while individuals pursuing significant muscle growth or recovering from illness may benefit from slightly higher intakes under professional guidance. Distributing protein evenly across meals appears to support muscle protein synthesis more effectively than consuming most of it in a single meal. Now let's talk about sleep, one of the most overlooked recovery tools. During deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone, repairs damaged tissues, replenishes energy stores, and supports learning and memory. Chronic sleep deprivation elevates cortisol, reduces recovery, impairs training performance, and can make it more difficult to build or maintain muscle, even if you're taking creatine every day. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night and maintain a consistent sleep schedule whenever possible. Hydration also deserves attention. Because creatine increases water content within muscle cells, staying well hydrated supports normal muscle function and exercise performance. A simple strategy is to drink enough fluids so that your urine remains a pale yellow color for most of the day, while increasing intake during prolonged exercise or hot weather. Finally, don't overlook your overall dietary pattern. Whole foods rich in vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, fiber, and antioxidants create the environment in which your cells function best. Fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, seeds, whole grains, fish, eggs, dairy, and lean meats all contribute nutrients that support mitochondrial health, reduce inflammation, and optimize recovery. No supplement can compensate for a chronically poor diet. The real lesson here is that creatine is a multiplier, not a substitute. It amplifies the benefits of healthy habits that are already in place. When you combine consistent creatine supplementation with strength training, adequate protein, quality sleep, proper hydration, and a nutrient-dense diet, you're supporting the very systems that allow your body to stay strong, resilient, and metabolically healthy for decades to come. And perhaps that's the most powerful takeaway of all. Longevity isn't built by one miracle supplement. It's built by small, evidence-based habits repeated consistently over time.